Did you know that producing 1 kilo of virgin plastic leads to almost 5 kilos of CO2 emissions? This means that your average chair releases over 10 kilos of CO2 emissions. What if I told you that you can make that same chair releasing only 1 kilo of CO2 emissions? Now, I'm not here to sell you plastic chairs, but I am here to tell you about the material that can go into making them. I'm a founder of Freightus, and I'm co-founder of Circular Ocean, where we are upcycling fishing nets to make a secondary raw material that can replace virgin plastic. In the port of Peniche alone, over 30,000 kilos of fishing nets, gill nets, are sent to landfill or incinerated every year. And just to put that into perspective for you, that is the equivalent of a Boeing 747 traveling around the world over 200 times. Now at Circular Ocean, we have a solution. Working together with coastal fishermen and the coastal community, we are increasing the value of these discarded nets by upcycling them into a new secondary raw material called Penilon that can replace virgin plastic. Now, what is Penilon? Derived from Peniche nylon, it comes in a variety of different forms, predominantly pellets compounded with either industry minerals or with oyster shells that can be used for 3D printing. But we have also made the first spools of yarn to explore the textile industry. And what's most exciting is that production using Penilon has shown to result in a reduction of CO2 emissions by 92% compared to using virgin plastic. Today, we have onboarded 2 customers in Scandinavia, one of which is 3D printing high-end premium furniture using only our material, and we are participating in international research studies to better improve our recipe. Now, when looking around to see what differentiates us from the others, on the left here you see us, and to the right 2 of our main competitors in Europe. Whilst the first uses the same type of plastic that we do, they don't make the same secondary products. The second competitor uses a different type of plastic, but makes the same secondary raw materials as us. Neither of these 2 competitors source their material locally, and so do not have the same social, local impact that we are able to have using our material. And there's a growing market for this even just within Europe, from aerospace to packaging and textiles. Our plan is to expand to the 7 largest ports in Portugal so that we can recycle all of Portugal's annual gill net consumption. In the next 5 years, we want to be recycling close to 50% of Portugal's annual fishing net consumption. And if this holds true and translates to sales, we will increase our operating profit close to 350,000 euros, which will allow us to expand and scale internationally. We have a dedicated team, a fantastic team dedicated to address this challenge, made up of marine scientists, ex-fishermen, and academic researchers. And we are looking for 100,000 euros to be able to upgrade our facility and expand nationally. But from the Blue Bio Value, we seek expertise in branding and telling our story so that we can properly enter the Portuguese market. I hope that in these last 3 minutes, I've been able to show you how our product is truly circular and can have drastic environmental and social impacts. Thank you.
Hi, Mafalda. Thank you so much. I have 2 questions. First, I know you didn't mention, but I want to know how developed it is, the inclusion of the oyster shells into the production of the product.
Yes, so we have created pellets compounded with oyster shells, and that is produced, and it successfully 3D prints. We just need to carry out a life cycle analysis on it to evaluate the full chain. So the 92% reduction, that's from industry mineral compounds, and now we want to make sure that the oyster shells has a similar reduction in CO2 emissions.
And thank you. And you don't know yet what is the impact at the end life of the products made with this PA6, or you do?
How do you mean the impact of
on the environment?
So using our material, it's a reduction in 92% of CO2 emissions. And then you have
are they like recyclable? Can they
yes,
be used
yeah.
again?
So we're carrying out tests with a research institute in Sweden to see the number of times that it can be recycled. So far, it has 2 recycle lives, and it's an ongoing study to see how many can go. But ideally, it's going to have numerous times.
questions. First, on the material itself, you mentioned some mechanical steps. Can you elaborate a bit on that and how much that is a bottleneck compared to the whole process? And also a bit more on the trademark as well. What have you protected and in which form?
Yeah, so it's a highly mechanical process, manual labor intensive, and that obviously ends up being the largest bottleneck in the development of the material, but also where we can have the largest social impact. We are collaborating with social rehabilitation centers to hire members for inclusive work opportunities. And so if we have large machineries, which we hope in the future, that will obviously reduce the social work that we're able to currently provide. But right now we collect the nets directly from the fishermen, we sort it out ourselves in our warehouse manually, and we shred the nets. So the first machinery comes in, the shredding of the nets, and then compounding as well. That's where the machinery aspect starts. In terms of protection, so we have a trade recipe like Coca-Cola. We're not going to patent our recipe because it just takes some trial and error for people to get there. But we have trademarked our recipe and our Penelon name.
Thank you, Mafalda. You mentioned that you were planning to expand to the other ports in Portugal for the collection of the raw material, correct?
Yeah.
In terms of market, what are your expectations in terms of future, and what would be your first goal on the market positioning?
So in terms of market, we are going for premium high-end customers that want to tell a story using their products because of the cost of our material. We unfortunately can't compete with large industrial recyclers, but we have a far more powerful story and can offer the full transparency of the supply chain from the individual fisherman through to the very end product. And so it makes our pellets more attractive for premium brands like Tom Ford's new Ocean Watch, for example. We want to expand collection nationally to all the ports, where each port can provide the material processing service, so that in Peniche we only do the compounding of the pellets to then distribute to national market ideally. We are in the process of doing that market analysis to see in Portugal. Unfortunately, at the moment there isn't that much awareness and purchasing power, whereas in Scandinavia and Northern Europe there is a lot of interest for this type of material and stories.